Welcome to PlotLines, where we'll use our over 30 years of experience in real estate communications to uncover the real stories behind real estate. I'm Heather Crowell.
And I'm Brittany Acrivo. Dive in with us as we invite guests to break down the ever-changing landscapes of real estate together. Welcome back to PlotLines, a podcast all about rewriting headlines in the real estate industry. Today, we're joined by David Diestel, CEO of FirstService Residential, and a beloved client of Gregory FCA, if I might add. David, thanks so much for joining us today.
Brittany, thank you so much for having me on.
Wonderful. Well, let's dive right in. Can you tell our guests about FirstService Residential?
Certainly, and I'll start with, I am so grateful to be part of FirstService Residential for over 2 decades. In FirstService, we are a leader in the residential community management space. And we manage wonderful residential communities all the way from Vancouver to Miami, all the great cities and places that people choose to call home. And we've been in residential communities for over 30 years. And what I've learned in all these great communities, it is all about serving our residents in their homes, wherever they choose to live.
Wonderful.
Great. So the reason that we're here is we're going to break down headlines. And, we're going to talk first about some of the headlines that we're seeing and get your take on those. So we're reading headlines about community associations that they say things like HOA nightmares and things like that. And it's sort of a bad rep. So what do you think? What do you think of those? And what do you think causes that bad reputation?
Yeah, that I read the same headlines as you, Heather. And it is troubling and disturbing to me because what I see is these are communities, these are people's homes.
Sure.
And it is incredibly emotional. When you think of where we all live, it is so deeply personal. And I do think that it is absolutely the minority who is sharing, the bad experiences that they're having individually. And there is so much information out there in today's world of social media.
Yeah.
Community Association Institute, which is our industry, has 89% of homeowners enjoy the homes that they live in these residential communities. And so that is incredibly positive for the most part. And so what we see in these headlines is not the reality of day-to-day community living.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. And David, you've really helped sort of spearhead some more positive messaging about community associations and HOAs. Tell us a little bit more about FirstService's role in the market and the messaging that you're trying to put out there.
Yeah, firstly, thank you for acknowledging what we are doing. We do need to collectively, as an industry, raise the profile. Over 30% of all of the U.S. market live in these residential communities.
Wow.
And so elevating the reputation of the industry is so important, making people aware. And so we do see very much our role, educating our homeowners, educating our boards, what it means to be great members of a community. And so we do have to acknowledge and thank. Let's understand that these communities are run by a volunteer board. These are the everyday heroes. They are elected by the homeowners like you and me to look after their best long-term interests. And, they are doing a terrific job. And it is tough. They're in a tough role as community leaders. So if there's one thing I have to go on record saying, it's a big thank you to these board members. And so it's a balancing act. And, the work that we are able to do to support our boards as community leaders, to help them educate, engage with their residents and homeowners, that's where the magic starts to happen. Right. And people truly understand community living. And these are your neighbors and friends.
That makes sense. You noted that 30% of homeowners live in these communities, and that number sort of surprises me. Is that are they growing in popularity, contrary to these negative headlines, which we always tell our clients is, the only people that are unhappy speak publicly about their experience. So we get that, but is that are they growing in popularity, over the past few years?
They absolutely are.
Okay.
78% in the U.S., 78% of new homes being built are being built in some form of community association.
Wow.
And just taking a step back for a moment, that includes, if you think of high rises, beautiful high
Yeah.
rises from Vancouver, Toronto, Miami, California,
Sure.
wherever they are, that's one type of community association. As well as the large scale HOA, the beautiful resort style communities that are popping up everywhere, Texas, the Sun Belt, Florida. That is how developers these days are building new homes for us to live in. And so it's with that vision in mind that developers are recognizing the benefits of creating these homeowners associations.
So talk to us a little bit about some of the benefits, that value that you bring to the table.
Yeah. Well, okay, Brittany and Heather, I do have to ask, do any of you live in a residential community as we're on this?
I was actually saying before we came up
Yeah.
here, I said, I live in a 14 home community and we were supposed to have a homeowners association. We do not. And we just recently found out that, that there's going to be a path built through the woods behind our neighborhood that is going to be public, and the entire, community and neighborhood nearby will be able to just be walking through. And we had no idea, and it didn't come to light because we don't have any sort of organized discussion plan. And a street pole went out years ago, and we have no light in our community. So it's a very small community, but I do not, and I kind of wish that I did. So.
And I do not either.
And you don't either. So similar to you, I live in a wonderful community association, and just listening to you, Heather, you live in that community, and it's so deeply personal. You chose to live there, where you are in your whatever stage you picked it, like-minded people, and that is what we see. Whether you're looking for a certain lifestyle, you're at a certain place in your life. And so these communities are all about engaging with the residents and communication. What is happening? How do you move communities forward? How do you stay relevant for the older communities? How do you invest in a great lifestyle, but also balancing the budget, representing all homeowners? And so I keep going back to it. The majority enjoy community living, being part of a neighborhood, and that resonates with them. Yeah. And that is the responsibility I feel is to our homeowners. How do we deliver that lifestyle? And we do that through a team with empathy, with a hospitality mindset, but also what are the things that we can do as the industry leader to help reduce expenses as well as bring the latest technology.
Sure.
So you asked, your question was a great one. What are the benefits of community living? It is that sense of community. And with that, you create a sense of belonging. In today's world, we're hearing about the loneliness epidemic that's out there.
Yeah.
And these communities are helping address that with your friends and neighbors, however you want to connect. And it is just the opportunity to strengthen people's lives when you find the right community for you. And so the other thing we see in these communities is when you create that sense of community, it also enhances safety. Like, we do see people care about their safety. And when your neighbors know who you are, when they see you walking the dog, when it is also helps with security. And the second thing it does is it's all about shared expenses. So in these residential communities, there are common amenities, whether it's swimming pools, whether it's pickleball courts, but also what are the programs that we can bring? Bulk purchasing, leveraging our scale for cable programs, reducing costs for homeowners. I just came back from Texas, and very proud of our new cable programs that we're rolling out there, which is reducing costs on average by anywhere from $50 to $100 per homeowner.
Wow.
I mean, that's meaningful.
Wow. Yeah.
So helping associations save dollars, that's a big part.
Yeah, that's huge. Thanks, David. Shifting a little bit, you mentioned developers, and obviously FirstService Residential does a lot of work with developers. Tell us a little bit more about that relationship.
Developers are who are building the wonderful communities of the future. And we're fortunate to work with many across both the US and Canada. And, how that starts with their vision. developers have a vision for their communities that they are building. They understand the buyers that they're seeking to attract. And our role was how to bring their vision to life. Who are their buyers? What are the amenities? What are they looking for? And so we're fortunate to work with many developers on multiple projects across the US and Canada. And what we're also seeing is homeowners really do appreciate the brand, the developers that they are choosing their homes to live in. So we're seeing more and more developers looking for a solution wherever they're building communities, and that homeowners are following them from Chicago to Florida.
That is really
common
interesting.
buyers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And David, you've mentioned amenities a few times, and I know we've worked with you on some stories about some pretty interesting amenities that are in demand right now. But tell our listeners a little bit more about what today's resident wants out of amenities.
Yeah, thank you. You know, as I travel around and talk to developers, let's start with high rises, vertical living. And if you think about a high rise, I always say there's 4 P's for the marketing people, your audience. 4 P's. It's people, pets, parking, and packages.
Love it.
And so when you think of the different types of living in vertical, it's all about food and people, all about food and beverage. What are the new food and beverage offering? Is it grab and goes if you live in an urban setting? Is it about wonderful restaurants, resort style living that we're seeing down here in Miami? And so all around people, it's activation of the new buzzword. It is not fitness centers, it is spa, wellness. And so how do you deliver great experiences? Cold plunge pools.
Yeah.
People. And, you know, it's amazing to me, 2 dogs. I have 2 dogs. Pets are part of the family.
Oh, definitely.
So more and more, we're seeing what are those things that make families feel welcome, including the pets. And it's the small touches, pet spas, little doggy footprints as you come in from the
I like
pumpkin.
that.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so as we go through, you know, the latest amenities, the developers know down here in Florida, we're seeing a lot of tremendous investment in different types of amenities, how your packages are received, to really truly help deliver that experience and around the technology around that. And then looking at the other types of communities, resort style living. Pickleball is the latest craze.
Yes, we know.
And so that is a wonderful amenity, but it still continues to be fitness and wellness.
Sure.
But more importantly, how you engage with that community. People are looking for more and more connections.
Okay. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that are kind of like changing in the world, some at a rapid pace, some a little bit slower, things like AI and climate change, and then the financing market. We've heard a lot about insurance costs in the residential world. How do you play a role in that? Like, is the job of the property manager changing with all of these new, you know, these factors that are impacting how we live our daily lives?
Yes, the role of the property manager is absolutely changing. And while it has always been and will continue to be about connecting with people, we are a people business and how you build relationships. It is evolving fast in an ever more complex world around you. You nailed it, Heather. There's technology. There's certainly expectations. We're seeing AI, climate change, regulations. And so today, the role of the property manager has evolved. You need to be a great leader of people with a hospitality mindset, an ability to lead a team, and know how to bring in a team of experts. So how do you bring EV charging to your community? And how do you conduct special assessments in this complex world? We're seeing the tragedy of Surfside has resulted in more legislation around structural components everywhere. And so today's great property manager knows how to connect with people, lead a team, but also bring in a team of experts that can utilize them and bring that value to all of the associations. So using a sports analogy, as much as a quarterback who knows how to leverage a great team to serve all the homeowners. And it has changed a lot, Heather. I just came back from the CAI conference, national conference in Vegas.
Okay.
And all the talk is around tech, AI,
Of course.
Right.
but it comes back to how you connecting with
Yeah.
people.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear, what you are seeing in the industry around this yourselves. Like how is AI impacting all of us in the day-to-day? I mean, what are you hearing from others in that space?
Yeah, I mean, I think we here talk about AI on a daily basis, and generally speaking, I think the theme that we hear across industries with AI is how do we streamline? How do we leverage things like AI to streamline what we're doing? But to your point, the people are what make it go, right? AI isn't going to take over and solve all of the challenges you just talked about solving for the communities. It's going to help you maybe be more efficient, but not necessarily. You need that human touch. You're talking about people in their homes, and that's a very personal feeling. So to your point, like, I don't want a robot answering me. I want to know that somebody out there is thinking about my community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Heather. I love what you said because, as we're building our own AI platform, that's what we're looking at is how do people want to connect and how is it helping us be even more responsive to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you choose to be texting, if you want to voice the text, how is AI helping us do that? And at the same time, sometimes you want to just go downstairs and talk to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're balancing that in what we're seeing and what we're building because it's going to help us be even more responsive. But at the same time, we cannot lose the humanity in what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, what we're hearing a lot is that it helps to streamline, automate some of those tasks so that you can really focus on the customer service piece of it, right? So those issues that need an in-person meeting or need a phone call or need someone face-to-face to really talk through it. And David, I know you're very passionate about customer service. I mean, just how important is that in your business?
Oh, it's critical. It is everything what we do. I'm amazed. We have a 24/7 care center.
Wow.
I'm amazed how many people call us.
Yeah.
Like, really, you want us to help you that, and we're there for you.
Sure.
And
yeah.
so that is something we pride ourselves on. And we need to get better in today's world.
Yeah.
And so that customer service aspect, you're absolutely right. Some people want an immediate response. How can we do that better? And that putting that front and center of everything we do, Brittany, is so important. And I think as an industry, we need to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Okay. So one of the reasons that we're here is that you're going to help us rewrite the headline. So if you could pick write the ideal headline for community associations, what would that be?
We are on a quest to simplify community living.
Okay.
And in today's world, elections are so important. And if you want to impact your own life, get involved in your community association because that is people's greatest asset. It's their biggest investment. It's where they live. And so that election is so important and the importance of community associations.
It makes sense.
I love that.
It makes a ton of sense. I love that too.
All right, David, is there anything we didn't cover today that you think either we should know or any of our listeners?
No, it is wonderful. And I will start with how we started. Community associations are wonderful. The majority of people enjoy their community. They enjoy connecting with others. And so despite the headlines, these communities are wonderful places that people call home. So we are proud to be part of so many. So thank you for inviting me on today.
Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, there's so much positive here in community associations. So just another great example to sort of read past the headlines, right? Because there's so much good here. So thank you, David, so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
This podcast is a production of Gregory FCA. If you enjoyed our discussion, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts